a lot of these things. Overnight, we would be fuel independent of the rest of the world. We wouldn't have to import any oil. That's something to think about.
Well, you have to wonder why that isn't pushed more.
Why it is not the law.
Right.
You've got to tighten your house up, use low energy, which they've got green refrigerators and green this and green that, lights, and tighten it, and low economy model cars. Instead of giving you 30 miles, they'll give you 70 miles or 80 miles. You know, the little car, the Smart, which is good for most people who are just driving around. In Europe, they call it the dumb, I might add, in France. But it does work. 60 miles, 60, 70 miles in Europe. When they import it to the United States insists they only get 40 miles. Hard to believe, huh? Who's in bed with the oil companies?
Well, yeah.
Huh? All right, Jeff Flanders, telling us a little bit about, we got a call coming, Mort, let's go. Somebody's beeping over there. Telling us a little bit about fixing up your house. We were just discussing, my house was built in 1809, and it's insulated. It was insulated at some point or the other.
Right.
Yeah, recently. And I'm still thinking about those solar panels. I like the idea. You sell it to the electric company when you have excess, put it all over the place. Some of them are directional. They follow the sun, too.
Right.
But those are very expensive.
I would think they would be. Yeah, and you do have to be, your house has to be sited so that it's going to take advantage of the sun. Right.
You've got to cut all the trees around. Well, I wanted to ask you another question. Time. As we said, one of the problems is you want to make sure they're not going to screw you on the overage. If they give you an estimate, they should stay, as you said, what, about no more than 10% outside of it?
I mean, that's
if
a good
the world
number to shoot
collapses,
for.
you know.
Right. I mean, let's talk about estimates for a minute.
That's the first thing you're going to do is say, well, give me an estimate in writing. What's it going to cost, right?
So if your plan is to interview three building firms, and so in that process, obviously you're going to ask for an estimate. And what you want is a written estimate that pretty well spells out what they're going to do so that you can do apples for apples in a comparison. You know that you're going to get what you're going to get. Now on small projects, you know, a lot of people will give you a hard number on what the project is. And a lot of our projects, when you get up into a whole house remodel and stuff, we work a lot. So basically there's two ways to do this. You can have a set contract price, in which case the contractor is going to pad his end a little bit to make sure that he doesn't get caught. If he doesn't have any recourse at the end, he's going to probably throw an extra 10% on to make sure that he's covered if he has an overrun. But what we do mostly is we do a cost plus, where people pay for the materials and they 15% markup and our hourly rate, and we give them a ballpark or a price that we're going to work towards, and we usually tell them that, you know, we'll try not to be more than 10% off one way or the other, and usually we can do that. The good part of that is if, for instance, you come under slightly, you'll get that. But if unforeseen things show up, you can kind of move a little better with that. But you have to trust that contractor that's going to be in one of those. I mean, you really have to. You have to know that they've got a long track record and that the people that they've worked before have worked under that sort of a contract and that they weren't taken advantage of. So it's still something to think about. And that's usually, because what you'll find in old houses, and a lot of times we do a lot of tearing out, you'll find things you did not know were there. You know, as you said, the rot in the floor or something behind the walls that you didn't have any idea was there. So
the termites, the carpenter ants. Jeff, tell me, what do you do? What would you advise a homeowner to do? I had a contractor come in. We're doing some repairs, an extension. It's going to cost me $8,000. He says, we'll do it for $8,000. I've got a contract. It winds up $16,000. What do I do now?
Well, I'll tell you what not to do.
Okay.
If you get 3 bids or 4 bids, and 3 of them are within, you know, 10 or 20% of each other, and one of them is 50% less, don't take the low bidder, because somewhere he made a mistake that you're going to pay for later on. I mean, I almost say as a rule, don't take the low bidder unless they're all close and they're all comparable, yes. But if somebody is dramatically lower than a couple others are, don't take him, and obviously if somebody's way high, you're not going to take them either.
Okay. There's an interesting ingredient up here in Chautauqua County that enters into the contracting. That's the Amish. They do a lot of work, I noticed, around here. What do you think of that? I'm put you on the spot, I know, but what do you think about the Amish workforce that's working here, who has their own lumber mill, they cut their own wood, and a lot of other things?
Yeah, well, contractors such as us, unfortunately, or fortunately, we are required to do a lot of things in New York State. You know, we have to have compensation insurance, we have to have liability insurance. We have a lot of overhead costs that we incur, but also that protect the consumer. So our biggest complaint is that they don't play by the same set of rules that we do.
They'll give you the low bid.
Well, you probably get the job done for less. And the thing is, some of those guys are good, and some of them aren't so good. So you still have to do your homework.
Got to know Adam Abbott from the Hills, right? We have the reason I mention that is there's a house across the street from me, and I've noticed a lot of Amish people working on it. And they seem right friendly, and the guy he swears, he says they do a nice job, they do good work, so apparently these people are okay. And obviously they're going to be cheaper because, as you say, they don't need insurance, compensation, and a lot of other things. Bring the kids along.
Well, I actually, when I built my house, I had an Amish guy dig my foundation. He has his own trackhoe and bulldozers. And
now, wait a minute.
Yeah.
Wait a minute here.
I'm telling you.
Aren't the Amish not supposed to be driving vehicles?
I think he may do some things that he's probably not supposed to do. Yeah.
Well, it reminds me, up in the hills on Height Road, there's a big Amish lumber mill. And I stopped in. They give you, they have an awful lot of slab they throw away. It's hemlock, so a lot of people don't want to burn it. It's got a little bit of resin in it, and you get higher creosote. And I have a wood burner, and I only use dry, really hard wood, maple oak, things like that.
Right.
It's a smart way to work. You still have to clean it once or twice a year anyway. But I said, there's a huge machine which is gas-powered. Amish, excepting for the beachy Amish, aren't supposed to use gas-powered things. And I said, well, how do you operate here? Doesn't God condemn this? He said, no, not if the English, meaning anybody who's non-Amish, starts it. It's okay. So they have an English guy come up, non-Amish, crank up the machine and get it going, the saw, and then they saw away all day.
Oh, there you go, technicality.
I guess they can turn it off. They just can't turn it on. The beachy Amish were interesting. They lived out in the West, and they had, the Amish are prohibited for driving cars, of course. Then. The beachy Amish reached a point where they had you've seen the fields out there. They're endless. They're endless. I have a friend who said, I used to start out with my tractor and harvesting, and I'd go to the end of the furrow and have lunch, come back. That's how long these fields are, miles and miles on them. And they couldn't use horses. The horses just couldn't make it. So they were permitted to use tractors, but. Before long, the young sports started driving the tractors into town to have them serviced regularly, and they took there's a governor on these things. They took them off and juiced them up a little, and they could go like the wind. Before long, the Beachies said, "All right, God lets you drive a car because it's the same thing. You're all driving cars now."
That's right.
And but you can't have anything chrome on it, and it's got to be black. Jeff Flanders telling us a little bit about the deal here. So anyway. So a guy goes way over, can you sue him? On the estimate. I'm talking about the estimate now.
Well, on the the estimate, if he goes way over, you can't sue him.
You just hunt him down and kill him, right?
Well, if
you do that.
If he gets the job and he goes way over the estimate, you don't necessarily have to pay him, depending on what the contract said. You know what I mean? Yeah. So that's the problem with a set price. You could get yourself in some big trouble. If you miss a job cost by $50,000, that's a hard one to chew if you're the contractor.
Well, just don't pay him. We've got a couple of calls. You want to take a call before we go off? We're reaching the end. Hello, good morning, caller. Hello. Mort hunting up again. So anyway, you just don't pay him. That's how you deal with it, and let him.
Well, and then you'll end up in court probably. And that was one point I was going to make. Our contract has a clause in there that would send us to arbitration, so that both the builder and the homeowner don't have to incur the cost of a lawyer. That you'd go to a professional arbitrator, and if you had any problems. Now, in the 20-some years I've worked for Mayshark, I can only think of 2 different times that we went to arbitration, which is a pretty darn good record over 20 years.
Yeah, and you never did get sued, that means, huh?
Right.
You just arbitrator worked it out.
Right.
And there could be reasons for that. Now, time. Overruns on time. My God, some of them, you know, they say, oh, it's done in 6 months. It's 2 years later. They're still working on it.
Well, yeah, that's why they don't allow me to estimate in the company, because I'm too optimistic to be the estimator. So we have a couple of guys that are pretty realistic about what it takes to do. And, you know, that comes from experience, too. If if you've been doing the same thing for 15 or 20 years, you have a lot better idea how long it's going to take to do something. So
you hope that you come in. Before we go off the air, I wanted to ask you to give them your phone number that somebody may want to call you who's listening in or viewing it now. What number can they reach you at?
Yeah, our number is 386-6228.
That's Mayshark. What is it, Mayshark Contracting?
Mayshark Builders.
Builders, okay. Yep. I guess the caller's back. Mort, don't hang up on him. Good morning, caller.
Oh, good morning. This is Linda Spalding.
Well, hi, Linda. We were just talking about you.
Mental telepathy. I hope you had a happy Thanksgiving.
I had a 2-turkey Thanksgiving, 20 people. It was wonderful.
Oh, that sounds wonderful.
Well, the cleanup was a bitch, but it was fun. And my kids helped me clean up. God bless them.
I love Thanksgiving.
It's the greatest time of year because you pig out.
Yes, and I'm glad there's one day out of the year that we're all compelled to be thankful for what we have.
That's right. And I hear the penny whistle.
Yes, it's a very talented young man playing it.
Young man, this is a guy, he's getting close to where he gets in free at Chautauqua.
He's got a ways to go.
Yeah. Well, I had invited him to speak on the show recently, and he denied me.
Well, I think maybe he had something going. He had a bad cold for a few weeks.
Yeah. How's he doing now?
He's doing much better.
Well, tell him we got to have him on, and I'd like to have on. This guy is a historian you wouldn't believe. He's related to everybody in the world.
Perfect.
Yeah. So anyway, what's new over there?
Well, I just wanted to announce the services with the Office for the Aging.
Okay, real quick.
And the computer training that we have, and the telephone number for the Office for Aging for all senior services is 753-4471. Toll-free in Dunkirk, 363-4471.
We're out of here.
Weekend.
Thank you, Linda. Happy Thanksgiving post-mortem.
Okay.
Bye-bye. We're off the air here. They're just throwing us off. So our time's out, but I want to give you just maybe half a minute to wind up. Say whatever you want.
Well, I guess the most important point I made, and the one I would reiterate, is to take some time to research the person that's going to work in your house. Make sure they have a track record, and make sure that you're comfortable with them. That'd be the biggest thing.
Okay, and you could mention that you do good work, Mayshark.
We do excellent work, and we have been around for 35 plus years. So
okay, so you're still around, and the Amish haven't wiped you out, and
no, we're still standing. That's
right. Thank you very much, Jeff Flanders, giving us his time. I want to thank all the sorry caller, the last caller we can't get in, but we're okay. We'll have you back sometime.
All righty.
I want to thank all the people who called in and the people who are out there, and I want to thank Chuck Kelsey, Devin Taylor, Chris Burt, Chris Ramaker, Mort Flexer, Randy Burt, Roy Harvey, Jeff Zook, Don Zins, and everybody out there. Prepare for a wonderful Christmas season, and don't forget, get out there and spend. May all that is proud and true and noble abide with you. I'm Reed Powers.